Alright, let's go visit the 7-foot tall wolfman that the internet wants to, it's the first, like, 5 minutes of the video, right? Kiss. There's this. So, let's talk a little bit about the beasts. I want to save most of it for later. But there's this idea of shadow beasts that follow you, uh, that are given to certain characters in the game. And one of the really interesting things is that the beasts tend to be kind of like they're ferocious, sure, but they tend to be kind of naive and very trusting and very kind versus their humans who tend to be sort of conniving and manipulative. And it's sort of a cool subversion of the whole trope of like I've got a my shadow is this beast that I can't control or whatever. Because they can control it fine, and in fact, the beasts are mostly decent folk. It's the human side of things that actually screws stuff up. But anyway, let us pull out that finger snap gesture, because that's what Kale told us to do. You can tell I don't play multiplayer much because I don't know how to use the gestures.
Who goes there? Carly sent you, did he? Ever the bloody busybody. Maybe to him you don't seem so strange. The name's Blaidd. I'm looking for a man who goes by Darriwil. He fled somewhere nearby. Or so I've heard. Come tell me if you find him before I do. I can offer you ample reward. Darriwil is nothing but a traitor, and in need of a fitting end to his tale. Darriwil is in need of...
Some of the plot points in this game, so there's a lot of talk about how hard it is to do the questing in this game. We'll be honest, I did a lot of these quests without needing explicit guide. I'm just familiar enough with FromSoft that often I'm able to figure this stuff out. And that's all it is. There's no trick to it. It's just sort of knowing what their quirks are. But there is some stuff that I have no idea how people figured out. And figuring out this quest in particular, no idea how people figured it out. It's not, it's not important, to any of like the endings or the main story or anything, but it's still, you just miss some early dialogue if you miss it, but still it's wild to me because it's just sort of the Blaidd is like, hey, there's a dude I'm looking for, and there's no indication of where you might find that dude. For the record, and somewhat related to our current quest, there are actually 2 moons you can see at different times. There are times when both moons are visible, but usually it's one or the other. There's a darker moon, and then there's the light moon. There's like a full moon. So I believe that's the darker one, if I'm not mistaken. But there are places where you can see both at the same time. Also, I've never paid enough attention to notice this, like, falling leaves weather effect. It's very cool. And I'm not sure I've ever been paying close enough attention to notice it before. Alright, so one of the things that we're going to discover as we move through the world is, you know how I mentioned that there are layers to the game, where at first it seems like sort of a generic fantasy world and then you notice more? This doesn't fit with the other architecture in this world. This place and this symbol are specific to a culture that we'll encounter later. And it appears that that culture is where where they came up with this whole thing of creating these jails to hold souls. Because they can't die. So if there's a criminal, what do you do with them? And what they seem to be doing...
Rotting in a cell is no true justice. No. This is where it ends for you.
Is putting them in these sort of jail cells to, like, hold their spirit forever. Remember I said I was going to be using these golden NPC summons whenever I saw one, even if one trivialized the fight? Blaidd can take this guy alone. So if I die here, it's going to be real embarrassing. Which doesn't mean it won't happen. Still haven't... Still haven't, actually put the tear in my, flask. So for the record, that weapon that drops here, that Bloodhound Fang, is broken good. It is one of the best early items in the game. It might be one of the best items in the game generally. It's used a lot in speedruns. It can trigger hemorrhaging repeatedly if used correctly. It's very good.
Right. There you are. Had to work for it, but it's done. Don't say I'm not a man of my word. Here's your prize. Oh yes. I should say, if you venture north to Rea Lucaria and come across a venerable blacksmith who's a little on the large side, tell him I sent you, and he'll be sure to treat you right. I owe you one, I reckon. That's enough chit-chat for now. It's time we parted ways.
Alright, so, yeah, that's a short little quest. Just to introduce us to, Blaidd there. And, as you might expect, we will run into him again. While we're out this way, let's meet a few other NPCs, though. I don't enjoy fighting bats, and I don't have anything ranged yet, so let's steer clear. Ooh, shiny things. Is this how you get to... No, no. That's 100% the wrong way. Here we are. I don't think I'm going to stop and fight the caravan right now. For the record, there is an enormous axe in there that is really fun to use. And I did my first run through with it, and sort of my thought was that even if I found some legendary weapon, I could say, okay, well, I found this legendary weapon, but I'm going to continue using this axe I found in the back of the pickup truck. Which is basically what happens. Okay, this might be... yeah. This is going super well for me. And I didn't rest before I did it. And I still don't have my flasks, so... if I can get just one stagger, I might can make it. Nope, not happening. You might notice I'm not particularly fussed about losing runes. That's... like, you shouldn't be. Oh my goodness. Well... I thought I could jump over those guys, but apparently not. As I was saying, you notice I'm not particularly fussed about losing runes. You know what? Screw you guys. If you're gonna poison me anyway. And the reason is that we're gonna get so many runes in this run. If we're doing all bosses, I'm gonna be massively overleveled. I'll be like level 150. At some point, there are other things that I want to, there's reasons I'm not spending a lot of time in the woods. I want to do that in the Mistwood. I want to do that bit later. But I should at least stop by and grab the mixers for the physics flask.
Tarnished, are we? I wonder you should turn up here. I am Sellen, a sorcerer, quite plainly. Why are you here? Ah, a yen for glintstone sorceries. I dare say your proclivities are far from ideal. Oh well, perhaps nurture will defy nature, with a bit of luck. But one must choose one's masters wisely. I was exiled from the Academy of Rea Lucaria as a reviled, apostate witch. Do you still wish to learn from me?
Yeah, more now, actually.
Well, you are a piece of work. Very well. You are now my protege in glintstone sorcery. But I refuse to coddle, or cast kind words. Never. Anticipate grievances, young apprentice.
Okay, so this doesn't have anything to do with anything. But imagine carrying that scabbard on that, like, makeshift bra. That is amazing. We will get this woman some clothes eventually, I promise.
Young apprentice. First things first. You are a tadpole when it comes to magic. Infantile. Without the legs to walk. So, to become a sorcerer, first, you must face your ignorance. Now, shall we start learning?
I'm not going to end up using the sorceries, but I am going to buy a couple just to trigger her
You wish
dialogue.
to continue the very well.
I don't know exactly how many you have to buy.
There you are. Shall we commence the...
So, let's talk a little bit about the descriptions here. We've got the Academy of Rea Lucaria. This is one of the first couple mentions of it. And that is sort of the academy where you go to learn the sorceries. We'll go there eventually. And remember that noble went and tried, the noble whose spirit we have went and tried to learn and didn't graduate, so he didn't get a stone crown like she has. And then we have these conspectuses. This one is from the Olivina's Conspectus from Celia, which we'll also visit, and which I suspect might feature a little bit in the DLC. At least I'm hoping it does. Anything else interesting? Oh, a sorcery of the Crystal Cadre, a group of sorcerers who pursue the wisdom of the stone, the secrets locked in the faint cognition of the Crystalians. We're gonna meet some Crystalians eventually. But there's basically, they appear to be a created race. And they appear to have been created by the same people who made the golems that we find around the world. Knights of the Cuckoo, we'll deal with those guys later. And that's it. That's all we got. So apparently I didn't buy enough from her to trigger her dialogue, but that's okay. I'm trying to think what other things we might want to do just as sort of part of the digging around Lake Agil process. Oh, I know. Again, this is meant to be an all bosses run. We will see how that goes as we get closer to the DLC date. I do not have a lot of streaming time. I've got a young daughter, I've got some family responsibilities, I've got a full-time job. But I really badly would like to do an all bosses run leading up to the DLC. Alright.
Ah, you must be the new Tarnished. You do well to steer clear of a Gill Lake fledgling. A dragon roosts there, and it's as fearsome as it is majestic. So, unless you're mad, or wish to be burned alive, stay clear of the lake. Don't be a fool. Turn back before it's too late.
Hold on, I just noticed something interesting. This guy, this braided object that he's got on his clothes looks a little like one of the braids that appears on the on Mesmer, who's sort of the flagship boss for the DLC. I don't know if it's similar enough to really be anything, but I wanted to check it. Oh, so I will try to kill a crab or a lobster at some point during this game, but we're not going to do it right now. And this is going to be, I believe, our very first encounter with the Duskborn. And note that if you do not double tap them, they will absolutely come back, and you'll have to fight them over again. Because they are zombies. That's one area where this giant sword, this great sword really comes in handy. Ooh, that hurt bad. This great sword really comes in handy is that it tends to do a pretty ridiculous stagger on enemies. So you can clear a little space. Yeah, see, if you don't drop them, they come right back. Love it when this happens. I'm completely fine, but I mean, other than the arrow directly into my mouth, I'm fine. Okay. Let's go fight Nerijus. Nerijus. I can't say this name. In a second, Yura will say it for us. This is another blood-themed enemy.
If it isn't Nerijus.
Nerijus, there we go.
Bloody finger. The end is in line. For you. And your suspect.
Yura, what are you doing? Again, this is a case in which the NPC could literally take this guy down alone if you let him. Reduvia, also a fantastic opening weapon. Let's look at the weapon descriptions for some of these weapons we've gotten. Jagged dagger with a distinctive curved blade, used by the noble servants of the Lord of Blood. This dagger rips flesh as it enters, inflicting blood loss with sickening efficacy. A proud testament to the success of its vicious design, this weapon is perpetually coated in blood. We've also got this dagger we got from Kenneth Haidt. An Erdsteel dagger with grass crest engraved upon its blade, carried by the Erdtree royalty for self-defense in times of peace. Though forged to a high standard, the weapon is difficult to wield. Attack power also scales with faith. And frankly, this weapon just doesn't do enough damage to be worth using, but it does have, I believe, oh, no, it has sort of crappy, it has a little crit, but not a lot. And here we have Bloodhound Fang, curved greatsword with a gently undulated blade wielded by Bloodhound Knights. The Bloodhound Knights we're going to hear more about, but basically they choose one master and serve that master their whole life. So this thing of where Blaidd refers to him as a traitor, that would be a very serious accusation for a Bloodhound Knight. Again, we saw the zombies at the beginning. All of these corpses are kind of trapped in this black goo. There is something wrong with this place, is the basic idea here.
Ah, we meet again. To have fought Nerijus and lived. You must have seen your share of battle. I am Yura, as you might recall. Hunter of bloody fingers, tarnished, held in thrall by cessblood. Zealots, who stalk their own, who stay the path. You are certain to face more of them. Just remember, no kinship with their ilk remains. Their madness precludes it. Don't let your emotions stay your blade. Be on your way. Perhaps we will meet again, if fate permits.
And we have one more NPC to meet. This is the most important NPC in the whole game. Let's go ahead and do it. I probably have some soul suspend. A couple. One sort of cool feature is, if you look, you can see these little tripwires with bells across them. And ideally, you would not do this, because then the bell rings and they all come running in. If I die here, I'm going to be upset at myself for doing that. Now, if you don't play like an idiot, note that there are these red barrels down here. You can just blow all those dudes up with like a ranged, like a fire pot or something. Alright. I did say I was going to kill all bosses. That was a lie. There is one boss I'm not going to kill. So there is a tradition in Souls-like, in FromSoft games, where a character named Patches appears in every game, and you walk over and he says, "Hey, there's some treasure in this hole." And you're like, "Oh, cool, there's treasure in the hole." And you look over into the hole, and then he kicks you into the hole, planning to kill you and take your money, basically. And then after you escape, he's like, "Oh, my bad, I did that by accident," or whatever. And he tries to make amends, and then he opens up a really useful shop. So in Elden Ring, he has a little more going on, but not much.
Well, well, well. Thought you'd just help yourself to a man's personal belongings, huh? You scheming little thief. The gods demand repentance. Cough up your coin. All of it.
Patches has managed to kill me before, by the way.
Wait, please.
But not this
I
time.
surrender. White flag and all. Well, finally come round, have you? I knew you would. You're a lady of reason, through and through. Ah. Well, what do you know? You're tarnished, like me. Now, how did I get that wrong? I took you for a demi-human or some such. An innocent mistake, I assure you. Well, water under the bridge. Now we're squared up. How about we play nice from now on? A true lady of reason. Just what I like about you. I'm Patches. Patches the Untethered. Tarnished like you, only free-spirited. Nomadic, you might say. Only for now, those retired soldiers turned bandits. They're paying for my gruel. In exchange for my, well, showing them the ropes. But honestly, this looting racket is bloody terrifying. Frankly, I'm ready to wash my hands clean. Maybe set up a legitimate shop. So don't be a stranger. I'll be ready to wheel and deal come next time.
All right. We will come see Patches again. Maybe before the end of this session, I don't know, or we might save it for another day. So these jellyfish tend to show up at like graveyards or like mass graves. And they are not hostile by default unless you attack them. And here are more of the undead. There's also these horrifying, like, slime monsters. It's just not an ideal place. more bodies. It's almost like they're stuck, like they can't get where they're supposed to be going. This is just a quick side dungeon. We're gonna do it real quick and move on. Not a lot of memorable stuff in here, I don't believe, but we'll see. There is a little bit that's going to be related to the DLC, though. Very loosely. We haven't seen a lot of the content that the DLC trailer references yet. Oh my goodness, that guy's still alive. We haven't seen a lot of the content that the DLC trailer references yet, but we have seen as time goes on, we will, of course. I was wondering where that third dude was. Got him. Oh my goodness. I do not have my healing stuff equipped. Excuse me. And this root resin item description is worth mentioning. The roots of the great tree were once linked to those of the Erd tree, or so they say, and it is for this reason that catacombs are built around great tree roots. So, if the idea of Erd tree burial is to if the idea of Erd tree burial is to return people to the tree so that their soul can be essentially recycled, then these tombs would need to be close to that root system. There is a lot of debate. It seems like that translation got mangled a little bit. So the question is whether there actually was a great tree and then an Erd tree, or whether there was a root system that pre-existed before the Erd tree, and then the great tree became the Erd tree. I think the DLC trailer kind of puts that debate to rest. There's clearly a second new tree or old tree, I guess, that predates the Erd tree, and then the Erd tree was born in the realm where that great tree is. And if that's the case, then I think it's a pretty easy call. But I don't know, because I've never quite... I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so I can't say for sure what the translation error was or what the intent of the authors was. But anyway. Notice the snakes bound around this dude's arms. We will learn, I think, from a later item that, he was forced to dress like that. He was basically the guy who was supposed to lose in the gladiatorial arena. And people love seeing these snake dudes wearing these snake emblems get defeated because the snake was a traitor to the Erd-Tree. And the reason that's important is because the main boss of this DLC that we've got coming up is covered in snakes. Everything about him is snaky. He's got snakes around him. All of the symbolism like surrounding him is symbols of snakes. He's got I forget what it's called right off. That's gonna make me crazy. But it's the staff that you see in like medical for like doctors. With the twin snakes coming up is like one of his symbols. The like entwined snakes that looks sort of like a DNA strand is one of his symbols. So these duelists, I don't think were actually like followers of this boss. His name's Mesmer, by the way. I may as well go ahead and start calling him Mesmer. I don't think this duelist was actually a follower of Mesmer, but it sounds like that that the duelists were sort of like an effigy that then champions of the Erd-Tree could go beat up, basically. So we did get a new spirit, and this is our first sort of named special spirit summon. So let's take a look at him. Banished Knight Ingval. One of the two knights dubbed the Wings of the Storm. Despite his banishment, he rejected the invitation of the grace-given Lord, instead keeping watch over a masterless castle for many years, gaining renown as a hero of the fringes. And notice, it's very difficult to see, but notice that on the crest of his helm, and we'll see this helm elsewhere, so you'll get a better look, but you can see like a bird or like two birds. These banished knights, it's hard to tell sort of what happened to cause them to be banished, but it appears the grace-given Lord was probably Lord Godfrey, and that there was some issue after he was given grace and became a lord that caused these knights to have to be banished. I am definitely expecting to get some information on the banished knights and the remnant soldiers, the people who are in Castle Stormveil now. I'm expecting to get some information on them in the DLC. The DLC will deal with the history, basically the initial conquest, before the Erd-Tree, before Marika's reign, when Marika was still sort of shoring up power. So that is what that is right around the time that Godfrey would have been given grace. So that seems to me like a good point, like something that's going to be explored. Sorry, I'm getting a message. I need to check it real quick. All right. Nothing to worry about. Our daughter's finally eating the way that we would hope a young baby would, growing baby would eat, so that's exciting. Whoa, shoot. Let's just run. If we just run, maybe we can avoid having to fight a billion dudes. Okay.
Well, nice of you to drop in, Fine. It's all a bit ad hoc, but I'm sure you'll find something. And welcome to Patch's Emporium, where you won't need a refund, because everything's top-notch. Yeah, I had those bandits make a clean break. Now they're all suppliers, and good ones at that. I mean, they don't understand a word I'm saying, but it hardly matters. We have a natural connection. They're all foot soldiers, survivors of a defeated army, worked to the bone by their high and mighty lord, only to be thrown out with the rubbish. It's the same old story everywhere I go. To hell with it all. Wondering what's inside the treasure chest. Well, it's nothing too special. Just something I'm saving as thanks for a very valuable customer. But then again, it would fetch some spectacular coin. And besides, this valuable customer could be a long time coming. Huh? Everything is give and take. Give and take. Cheers for that.
Just occurred to me that I have a shirt I haven't put on. Woo!
Well, well, well. I should have known, you scheming little thief. The gods demand vengeance. Vengeance!
Let's not pull the giant bears. Let's not pull the giant bears. Again, there are things in this woods that I'm not quite ready to go look at yet. But we can at least go ahead and get a couple more of tiers for our physics class. Okay. Note all these golden sunflowers point the same way. I believe they tend to point towards the... Nope, they're all pointing out here. I thought they always pointed towards the tree, but you actually can't see the tree from these woods, so I can't confirm. Oh, they do. They always point towards the main Erd tree. But anyway, let's go, head back to the church. So when you get caught in one of those transporters traps, you can't leave until you find a grace to rest at. And then once you've rested at a grace, you can warp on out. So let's go visit Patches one last time, and then we will... yeah, then we'll end the stream. I want to see if we can do something. Nope. Do we have Grovel for Mercy? Yeah. Okay. This is probably going to get me killed, but I wanted to get a little bit of optional dialogue.
What's wrong with you? Hard of hearing, are we? Fine. Have it your way. You'll get what's coming. Go thinking I'm a soft touch. Chance to surrender, mate. Grovel? And I'll forgive you. So slow on the uptake, eh?
So it didn't go exactly as planned, but we'll try it. But it's fine. We'll get it this time.
Ryan, you're alive. Oh, you had me proper scared, puffing away in a flash like that. Well, maybe it's a sign to keep your mitts off what's not rightly yours, hmm? But I'll forgive you. View it as a learning experience. At any rate, it's just nice to see you safe. Oh, don't miss all the bargains here at Patch's Emporium.
To be fair, we did try to rob him, so like that one might be on us a little bit. So this is interesting. This cookbook says a record of crafting techniques left by a man who, unable to become a finger maiden, instead became a missionary and went forth to spread his holy teachings. Did he think that he could become a finger maiden, and if so, why? More interesting, and we'll probably come back and buy this, so we might want to talk about it later, is Margit's Shackle. This, again, talking about tablets and the written word, appears to be a tablet inscribed by runes, which is interesting. But more interesting, a fetish bathed in golden magic. Shackles were used to bind the accursed people called the Omen, and these ones were made to keep a particular omen under the strictest confinement. Though faint, the shackles still retain vestiges of power, enough to trap the once-bound Margit on Earth, if only for a short time. So we can use this if we end up in combat with Margit the Fell Omen, which we will in, well, eventually. And I'm just checking to see if there's anything else that would be interesting to look at. So the sacrificial twig. Let's talk about this for just a second, and then uh, we'll log off and we'll end the episode. But it says it's believed to be a twig pruned from the Erd tree long ago, and it's used. Basically, you can wear it as a talisman, and then if you die, you don't lose your souls. But then the twig is destroyed. There is a story in ancient Greek myth of a man who wanted to go to the underworld to see his father. I believe it's in the Aeneid. I cannot pronounce Greek names, but he wanted to go to the underworld to see his father. In order to do that, he had to prune 2 boughs or twigs from a golden tree. And this was the inspiration for a book that scholar wrote in the late 1800s that claimed to be sort of synthesizing all myth into sort of a common story called, and that book was called The Golden Bough. And it's called The Golden Bough because it's a reference to that Greek myth, but also because the scholar claimed that there was a temple with a king, and he was part king, part priest, and in order to and he reigned as long as he lived. And if a slave was able to sneak into a courtyard and cut a golden bough from a sacred tree, they then had the right to challenge this king in combat, and if they killed him, then they got to be king. And it was sort of the launching point for a broader discussion of what this particular scholar thought was sort of the commonalities in religion and in people's conception of like magic. And it's got a lot of references that appear to be used within this particular game. So I'm wondering if Miyazaki, who is one of the creators, might have Miyazaki, who is sort of the main the lead on this project, might have read that book in the past. He was a sociology major in college. He makes a lot of references to different works of sociology within his games. I would not be shocked if he did. But yeah, basically the idea was that if you were able to cut a branch from this holy tree, you would have the right to challenge basically a king and become king if you were able to defeat him in combat. Which is honestly what we're doing. Like, that's this whole game. And there was also this sort of theme of the tree. Some people wouldn't be able to cut or harm the tree in any way. So it's sort of an interesting connection. I have not finished reading the book. It's very dense 1800s prose about and the guy's a bit of a crank, but I suspect that Miyazaki is perhaps critiquing this view of all cultures are the same deep down, or basically looking at all culture from like one perspective. And we're going to see other examples of that as we move forward. So, look forward to that. Though in the far future, next session, we will probably just be doing a few more NPC quests, maybe an optional dungeon or two. And ultimately, we'll head down to an area called the Weeping Peninsula, which is sort of, honestly, where I would advise people to start if they're brand new to Souls games, because there's a lot of good items and a lot of good stuff down there, and it also provides kind of a teaser for all of the stuff that we're going to deal with in the future. So that's the plan moving forward. We're going to meet just a few more NPCs next session, and then we're going to take a break, go to the Weeping Peninsula, get a teaser for all of these future things that we're going to see way, way later, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up Limgrave. All right. Thank y'all for watching, and we will call it here.